The food demonstration that you are about to view on blue corn dumpling and blue corn tamale is both in Navajo and the English language.
Yate she Lily Y Pete and she do kia ani ainsley do hashkazo e pashin touching e da she do na kaitne e da shnale da e ya a sun slanto a man slido ma sun slanto a naledon slam low mountain de e ya e see shit this chim a conduct a day ya beshwi tode cashed the biggest purpose that we want to teach here to the children and young mothers, also people that don't know about corn food, is to relearn, because we've found out that these traditional foods are the healthiest food that you can have. It's not like what you buy from the store. The homegrown corn, or the ones we've cared on all these years, they always say don't mix it with the one from the store, because the ones that come from the stores, they've been treated with all kinds of things, and they are different. They are different, you know. They've been treated with all kinds of chemicals to preserve the food and all that, and that's what causes our health problems, diabetes and heart problems and all that. So for our traditional corn, we don't do stuff like that. So we consider ours pure, and that's why we don't want to intermix the two. We really want our children to relearn that the most healthy food they can get is what you get from the cornfield. Corn is a very sacred plant to us. We use it in many different ways in ceremonies, everyday life. And when we plant a corn, we have to care for it and nurture it. And just every day, you don't just plant and leave it alone. You have to go out and check it all the time. And then when it's ripened, you get corn pollen. And this is what we use to offer prayers. And we get the corn pollen from the corn, all corn. And then we use it also for offerings in the morning. You have to get up early in the morning and do your morning prayer, sprinkling this, and ask, you know, to have a good life. And then also in the evening, we use the yellow cornmeal. So that's another way that we use corn. And then there's ceremonies that we use the corn. All the corn that we have here, we use in the ceremonies. And then we save them too. We steam cook the corn in the ground and we save it for winter. Then we cook it with our mutton stew. And then also we save the husk and use it for cooking. It's just like use like tin foil. And you have to teach your children how to do this and save them. And the reason why I have different color strings on it is because I use it for different purpose. That's why I can identify it with the string. And then we even save the corn cob to be used in a ceremony as a lighter. That's why we save these. And then as we do our cooking, we also use our stirring stick to stir the mush or whatever we're cooking, because a lot of times, you know, it has to be done with hot water, so we use this to stir with. Every time we use it, when we get cornmeal on our stirring stick, we always pray with it. We take it off the stick like this and put it in our mouth, and we pray as we clean off the stirring stick. And we pray for our family, we pray for our home site, we pray for what we have, our relatives, and then just the land. We pray for everything. So anything having to do with corn, we always offer a prayer because it's so sacred to us. We have here blue cornmeal that I bought from the store. Every time I buy cornmeal, I always sift the cornmeal because when you sift it, you have this part that's not grind very good yet. And you have to sift it so you can separate the two, and you can always regrind this and then put it back in there. But the older people used to say, if you didn't grind your corn right, when you start making some type of food, it'll just crumble, just like the one I'm going to do in a little while, the dumpling stew. If the cornmeal is too rough, and then it'll just crumble. And then when you're making your blue corn patty, the same way it has to be fine grind so it can hold together. Teaching in a speaking hinal de schlicht na dot leisure do best on do ado gato din jonot baganel te gita ado nana dat do bije dit abihet nilabeltastisa ja de schlicht ado nana Trots do yegui beja belia gon jono ko enjono alhidilja jono tot obio asazil go beji eyat hats o de zeile eben na to yegu beja bele. Today I want to show you how I make blue corn dumpling with the blue cornmeal. And then the ash, juniper ash, which is fine sifted. And then also I'll be using the corn husk to roll the tamales in. And then it's important that you use very hot boiling water to make the dough stick together real good. If you use warm water, then it's just going to crumble. And then also, if you want to sweeten what you want to make, you also have the ingredients here, and then also we have sugar and raisin that you can use. Yat at quen na ta yan hinal shle na ta dot jipe akwandit an hinal na de shli kuje. This morning I already made some of the what I call the blue corn tamale because it takes a while to cook. That's the reason why I got it started already here. But I will show how to make it here. And what I'm going to do right now is make a dough with blue cornmeal. And the same dough that I make, you can divide it into two pieces and make the dumplings and then also the tamale roll with it. So that's what I'm going to show you. And you need 5 cups of cornmeal. Dina dagi e shladaha cow. Bahija benjano opetil kongo arobatistisk. So you level out your cornmeal. Not a heaping cup, just level it out. 5 cups. That's 3 right there. God be conquered. D. Got a cornmeal albeit is schlich. Die cornmeal je ka ado obi hot zau jich dit au. Bi onet obi hot zau ko okuya. Okuya e ya. Gatiki cornmeal ya zizi. You put a little dip in there so you can pour your juniper ash in there. And this one is 2 tablespoons and a half. Okay, right there. Adina kitadona need to be hikakone adi bishate in Skagita. Adok at eya twisito. Ahate bahija beha kan ye gui beji gitwa. Sa alchidobi yatsiz. Ado obio betanjikishtite. When you put the hot water into the ash, you mash it up a little bit like this, and then you pour the rest of the water on it. And then strain it out. Adon da betajishtite. Ako edo oyo didal jinibi da ehtahle. Eben na ebit ajal ohlid ah. Ado na kidet bahija hadis binobi na jaka. Ado an tathajo niladipe. Masando shema ebtsado eya ohol a chiniyajan shlida bahol shenal ilio, because that's the way we learn Navajo. Khut a etahwil at ado lenil jodo dot a ira il na khut a eya ohil a ko. So that I quit Jin Hallo a Yanata Jan Jadenil on here ho a call Nijane a what our aya Nia ho Nata Jan Chunil Dobohil I was just saying that I learned how to cook traditional foods from my grandma and my mom. As a young child, we had it almost daily when we had a grandma. And when we were out herding sheep and we would come near the home and we would see a lot of smoke coming from home, we would know that grandma is preparing traditional food because she has to burn cedar ash, and that makes a lot of smoke. And we would be so happy. That was one of the greatest joy in my life. Okay, what I've done so far is I've put 5 cups of cornmeal in here and added the ash. 2.5 tablespoons of ash into hot water, and I strained it out to get all the black stuff off. And then I put 2 more cups of hot water in there, and I'm adding another cup. And then I'm gonna keep stirring. It's very hot water, so I have to use this to mix it. But after a while, I have to do it with my hand. Dia todobazo sto be chili. Ado khotna ya ahalla be thajon latita. Kita eya ayah jilla hot khoti biche hot al ahjan satogodo thajon ne hango ait na hot chechena kita. What I was saying here was that long time ago the older people used to test their in-laws with this. They would tell them to make some type of traditional food like this. And they were told to, after a while, you know, to mix it with their hand. And it's very hot. And if they couldn't do it, then they were told to go home. That's what I was saying. Okay, I'm going to need another spoonful, cupful. People do it all different ways. Sometimes they add the ash right onto the cornmeal and they don't strain it through. So some people I've seen doing that. Edo dauda e togi deji tosa doi bejiki. Oda il e konde. Kot eile. Sometimes people add the ash to the cornmeal as they spoon it into their bowl without filtering it out. And then sometimes they add it to the ash to the boiling water before they pour it in. So there's different ways to do it, but it always comes out the same. See if I'm brave enough to mix it now. The ash is what turns the dough blue. God be just all conjoined is Okay, I'm dividing the dough. Part of it I'm going to make the tamales, and then part of it I'm going to make the dumpling with it. So I'm trying to divide it so I can Okay, since I'm making two different dishes here, I'll do the dumplings first. So all I have in here is just the cornmeal and the ash. That's all you need in here. And this is the basic dough. You can make other dishes with it. Just like the round patty bread that you've probably seen. All you have to do is just roll it out. Then you cook it on a griddle. See? It's the same basic dough from this one. what I usually do is just roll it and then just pinch off little pieces. And they say when you're taking food into a ceremony, you do not take round food in there, just like the round, like marble here. It could cause a hailstorm, and usually it's the winter ceremonies. Oh, hayun harapi chong inata, ye biche ba ilso tatno. Aqua chong inata yan. At lo de quishin il case in the lonata yan ede ya aqua chong. Adonana Nsampakana harauda. Aqua chinano nata jian at eloqui. Chinano Adonana jishpe etlol yado nata jian chong Ado Nsampakana haraudo nata jian chong Lehil jojul yehigit apijan. Dit ahon tsazo ojil it ahon so na dat abatliste so hot aus sit au le sit au a hot au ojil ya ebe o kan de jin sampakan ha a ede ya cho in de jin a ede nil ya a hot au ko disjin ya I hot a beso de ya ik da a ko na ta jane yisi cho in de ita Ado chniaje benachada. Nata jian kwa chinana inhle. Ado acheda. Ayoj no khiraho. Nata jian ba jil inho. Johut ah eya hwayo ne. Ahut ego eya be ahzenjene. Ahut ah eya. Jo in there. I was saying that we have a lot of purpose for these corns here. Different kinds of corn we use in ceremonies. We have them, we use them in the Yebiche ceremony where they have to refeed the mass. It's just kind of like a blessing for the mass. And then also we use it in a rain ceremony. The people do prayer offering for rain ceremony and they have to prepare all the foods, traditional foods, and it's used in the rain ceremony. And then also for medicine bundle reties, so they can re-bless their medicine bundle, and that's when it's used again, different types of traditional foods. And then also there's what we call our earth bundle that we have, that some families have, and every 4 years, you're supposed to have it re-blessed, and that's when corn is used in the ceremony. And then children's birthdays, puberty ceremonies, and then also when you have a special guest, you always want to treat them, you know, real nice, and you make some corn food for them, which is to show your blessing, you know, to this person. Just pinch it off, squish it down, and then put it in here. Like I said, in certain ceremonies, you cannot take in round objects, food, to eat, and this is one of the main ones. That's why you have to kind of flatten it. And they don't allow things like pinon, even sunflower seeds now. They get after the younger people when they start, you know, cracking piñons in a ceremony. They don't like that, those medicine men. Because it's usually the winter ceremonies like the Mountain Way ceremony and fire dance, yebiche, all those are done during the winter. And that's the one where you can't be eating piñons because they do swell up. See, when I work with the students, they have to all come around and help me roll this out. So we have a lot of fun doing this. Then I pinch off a piece and put it in there. Obi alts oz konjone o kodito yon skoda. Obi on theology o yo dan thele. And every now and then you got to make sure you stir it, that they're not sticking together. Make sure it's not sticking to the bottom too. But if you have a fast boil going, then it won't stick to the bottom. I yegui beige ko idon lebet lache bedilcheta. Ebna I beige on jona. Dalt is go ya. I sit kontsoko edota. Don't make it too big. They swell up. Kadeya best onigin hinat na dishli ko epana hosh I'm going to show you how to do the tamales. Ati tasni it's ya best on be na dishli she la kand ebi na jil koje ado chilna atlo igito be na jil aro obel tajone binda hot au isladishne konsaka to do the Thai ones, the tamale Thai one, all you have to do is add sugar and raisin to this other mix. It's the same basic dough. It's just like when you're making dough. If it gets too watery, all you do is add some more flour to it. Bajale nalo hatsamba zo de je ileho aro o kan lapenachi judis hotza njano dit als asho a chen son halo jili aro bilsi this to deep ka da ogi saya honeshi aro onda wi togi Adon nash kut au aron dati alkitzi kisoko yobatzil. When you twist it, it's a lot stronger. So that's why I always twist it. And then I usually tie it this way. That way you can just pull it on one side and you'll untie it. Sometimes people will tie it too tight and then you can't get it undone. You have to fight with it. See? That's how you do it. It's so much fun to do it with little kids. They'll make it all different sizes and so fun to work with. Achini yajabetin jildin shoti de bida house ayo bohnet lehashi adan soga at the kiz adele ko ad njano do bishtishna arad odel bish. Alskoda il adoha shin nebestal kanade yahle. When I do this with the students at a school, When I have some leftovers, they always say, please, can I take some home for my grandma or grandpa? It's always so sweet, you know. See, this is the reason why I bring scissors to cut this off. Apinda ya tite isla anil tite isla ai bejo hodna ebna at I thought hinel. There, we're ready to eat. At dig in a spizian jono spej ado kwa ya bi hashka. At kodin jono spej in a spizigi adalt isako isla in jono ahotna spej ado hotan tkhile. Apin jono betho ille tide yipejo ape bin jono betho biol eln halon ille ado nana ti stolsko tide best onigit delia don da hal kiji konde chilnat oigi la bisnel ako ashin la kando bel isla akonde trasni alla aigi islande oltanneli eltsanshabe elia ako nakil albej oli tasni alla tajosni igi kut ya ni nalch yan islad oli didet na ta otlejiki do alchni ya edi be yitez do adoshin lekani na de jihodeya esto ni masando ni che ya abjana atit ahode yande nana kochiki to shin lakan aget abjan na ta kanda ede yilda inde itashin da ze to shin lakando adole betna da hoye ni de to nda hot shin bi go habel. The dumpling is done now, and it cooked a little faster because I made them real small. And it makes its own gravy, and this is how we eat it. And the older people used to eat it without salt and sugar in this dish here, but since we started having sugar at the stores, then we started adding sugar to it, and kids like to add milk to it and eat it with milk too. So these are the two dishes that I was able to make for you, and I enjoyed doing it. And I want to thank everybody for, trying to learn about our traditional foods. It's very important, and please teach your children. And also, if the grandmother cannot communicate with the child, the mother should get in there and interpret and try to learn these things from the parents, the older people, because it seems like we're losing things real fast, and we need to regain as much as we can so we can always carry on the good things that our older people taught us. There are schools here on the reservation where children are being taught to plant. They do it right on the school grounds, and we've worked with a program where they planted corn, and then as they harvest the corn, then we showed them how you prepare a way to thank the earth for the corn that was grown. And that's the reason why I brought all these different kinds of corn. And what you do is You take a little bit from each one of this corn of all types. You grind it together, just a little bit. And then as you put the mush in the ground, you make a cake, just a small cake, just like a puberty cake. And then as you put the mush in the ground, you have to offer a prayer. And that's when all this mixed corn is used. You grind it in a fine grind, just like this. And then all the people that are participating will take a little bit of that corn and sprinkle it on the cake and offer prayers for their cornfield. And that's when all this different type of corn is used. And you pray that you will always have good crops again the following year, and that you will have a variety of crops. And that's what you do. And then you cook it overnight. In the morning when the cake is cut out, everybody will take a tiny piece of that cake. They take it back to their cornfield, and right in the middle of their cornfield, they dig a hole and put that little piece of cake they saved back into the ground, and they thank Mother Earth for the produce that they got from that. And that's one of the things that we worked on too in one of the schools. So there's an area, you know, as you mature, you start to think of all the things that you're thankful for, and that's what your prayer is based on. And that's how you know, begin to think in that way. It takes a while, you know, to learn how to gather your thoughts for that. And that's how, like when you're making your mush, you know, and you're stirring, you always have good thoughts, you know. And then they always say you should always go in the cardinal direction. That's another thing that you need to remember. And then, like we said, anything having to do with corn comes to prayer. And so you're taught early to start thinking about prayers, you know, to be thankful for things in your life. Alchiniage Halate au eya sodzen Yuhidol Ahlatzen Zenla. So that obe Hahil Gisto eya Sad Basht Ajil Ihdo Kut au Sodzen Hat I Bijino Jo Ado Api Yi Nilo Yan Dita Api Yan Sekesi Bik Eho. Dida apino na tat niligi bikeho. Alchindo dit au hachiho aron da pinda and lehayol kalbi den hot abijdenel. Kode hojona shadolil a ede yand bohjil a nana nasto eya kode hojondolil. Shmana Hassan yadilchitha. Kut au nana alket nanas nil. Ado nana bekede nanas niligi eya diyin danohlini adigo honohloni. They say there's holy beings on all four directions. E nana benaji nil. Ahot au, you build up their learning how to say a prayer. Same way at noontime and then in the evening. And then eventually as they grow older, they'll be able to put in, you know, please help me in my schooling. I have a test today. Help me, you know, be able to pass the test and make my mind strong and all that. All that they'll be able to add on to it, you know. And then even if they have a sick person in the family, you know, they'll learn how to add that on to their prayers, you know. And I've even heard little kids, you know, pray for their little puppies and cats and all that, you know. That's a learning process. So that's really good to start them off praying in that way. So thank you very much.